welcome to part 2 of this webinar. We are going to talk about listing tonight. Last week we talked about sourcing great items that will help you with your average sale price to get your average sale price up. If you missed last week, make sure you go and check out the replays. I'm seeing lots of people in the chat. Hi, Kimberly, Sue, Joyce, Julianne, Heidi, Lindsay, Rhonda, Pat, and Maria. Lots of you in the chat tonight. Let's see, I'm just trying to make sure that I have everyone in here. I am working to get this glitch fixed with the download attempts. I've changed it many times, and I'm not really sure what else to do. So I am going to contact the company and see if they can fix it. Because I've sent out the updates multiple times and it's still not fixing it. But I am going to fix it. Something you can do is you can copy and paste and download the links and save them to your computer. The links will not change. So download them, save them to your computer, put them in a document, put them somewhere safe where you can find them. That way you'll always be able to go back and rewatch it or access tomorrow nights if you'd like to come back. Let's see. Randy, the replays are going to be the same exact link. So in the document that I sent out where it has last week's links, those are the replays. So you can just click on those and it will take you straight to the replay. Just giving it like a couple minutes for people to get in here so we can get started. Tonight we're going to talk about listing and how you can list items to add value to your items with your listings. What you don't want to be is somebody who is just throwing stuff up there, throwing stuff in the floor, throwing stuff. I've seen people list stuff run across the backs of chairs, the backs of toilets, crazy pictures. I've seen people actually put items down in the grass. So you don't want to be putting items down on the ground outside, in the dirt, on the grass. It's not how you want to be taking your photos and making your listings. So we're going to talk about all this tonight. Not copy and paste, use right click to open in a new window. Okay, that's good. I'm glad it let you open it finally. Let's see. Randy, there shouldn't be a code. It's just a link that you need to click on to get to it. Let's see. All right, can everybody see me and hear me okay before we get into tonight's outline? Get to my notes if I can find them. This has been one of those days where anything that can happen will happen. Okay, great. So the first thing I want to talk about are your titles and your listings, because it's one of the first things that you have to enter in. And when I'm doing your closet reviews, I usually have to make some remarks about these in everyone's closet reviews. So I want to talk about those. So for your titles, you want to keep your title as simple as possible. So I usually do the brand name plus the item and then maybe one or two keywords. And the reason this is because you want Google to pick up your title. You want Google to pick up your listing. So the way you do that is to keep it very streamlined and simple. So for example, I'll do J. Crew top or J. Crew button down shirt or J. Crew perfect shirt. And then I'll put, Paisley print or, something at the end. If you know the exact style name, that's a great thing to put at the end. And then what you want to do is you want to copy your title and you want to paste it to be the first part of your description. And that is going to help you with the SEO, the search engine optimization. And that's going to help your listing be more likely to show up in Google. I don't know if you have ever noticed, but whenever you search something on Google, a lot of times some of the first items in the shopping tab are actually Poshmark listings. So Poshmark has great SEO on Google, and you want your items to show up on that Google page. You want them to be towards the top of the Google page. So make sure that you're doing your titles, and then you're copy and pasting your title to be the first part of your description. And that's going to help it to better show up on that Google shopping tab. And so more people will be able to see it outside of Poshmark. Keeping your title simple is also going to help you in the Poshmark search. For example, when you have to think in the mind of the customer. So when the customer goes to search for something, they're going to type in J. Crew top. Most people, unless they're searching for something very, very specific, don't really type in much more than that. And then you have to remember that Poshmark has the My Size feature. So people who are shopping on Poshmark, for the most part, have their sizes plugged in. So you don't necessarily have to put the size in your title. Absolutely put it in the description, but you don't have to put it in the title for it to show up in search. So you want to be, really aware of what you're putting in your title, and you don't want to put things in your title, like career or things that don't really have anything to do with your title that could affect your search results. The Poshmark search will pull from the title and the description of the item. So, you don't have to cram your title full of keywords to be able to get your listing seen on Poshmark. You can put those keywords in the description. Let's see. Let me look at the chat. Okay, great. So you want to, add good descriptive keywords to your description. You want to put prints in there. You want to put the style that's in there. Something I see a lot of people do, you need to make sure that you're putting, generic keywords in your descriptions, like top and pants and jeans and shoes, because that's what people are searching for. They're not necessarily searching for blouse and tunic and sweater. You want to have those words in there too, but you need to have very generic keywords, because for the most part, that's what people are searching for. And if you don't have that word top or shoes or pants, and somebody goes and searches for J. Crew pants, your listing isn't going to show up in the search because you don't have that generic keyword in there that they're searching for. So you want your item to show up in as many search results as possible. So you need to have both types of keywords. Lindsay says, so don't worry about using all of the available character spaces in the title. No. So you don't want to jam pack your title full of words. You absolutely do not have to use all of the characters in the title. Sue says, seen so many cute top. Yeah, so you don't want to put that as your title. Like, I see that too. Lots of cute top, sexy top, red dress. You want to have the brand name in your title. You need that in your title. Kimberly, yes, Poshmark is very, very different than eBay. So on eBay, this isn't really about eBay, but I do sell on eBay as well. So for eBay has this software called Cassini. And Cassini is very, very specific in how you have to formulate your titles. If you are on eBay, you have to formulate your titles very specifically. And it has to go, it's brand name plus the item, then the gender, then the size, and then your keywords at the end. So you would have to put J. Crew top, women's 8, paisley print button down, and it has to be in a very specific order for the algorithm to pick up on it and for it to appear in a lot of search results. On Poshmark, you do not have to do that. You can put the brand name, the item, a couple keywords, and then put everything else in the description. But no, you absolutely do not have to do what you have to do on eBay. I list on both and was trying to follow eBay rules for Poshmark. Yeah, Poshmark is much, much easier and lenient with their titles than eBay is. I'm used to cramming title full from eBay. Yes, eBay is very, very specific on how you have to formulate your titles for them, which took me a little while to learn. But once I did learn it, it was very helpful. But for Poshmark, you can be very simple and still get great search results. So, and it's honestly going to help you to be in more search results from being simple, just because most people are searching very generic terms from what I've seen. Let's see. Okay, so for your description. So the first part of your description needs to be your title, and that is for, like I said, the SEO purposes. And then in your description, you want to put the size. So you want to make sure that the size is in your description. You want to also make sure that you are including measurements in your description. So yes, this is part 2 from last week. So you're in the right place. Okay, so for your measurements, I know this is a pain and it takes, a little bit longer to do, but you want your customers to be able to just go ahead and buy things without having to ask you questions. So, if you go onto a boutique's website or you go onto Nordstrom, you can click on something and it will have measurements for you, or it will have a size chart. People who are shopping online need those measurements, and they expect those measurements, and they need some sort of guidance to compare the size, especially when they are shopping on Poshmark. And Poshmark does not allow returns due to fit. So you have to think about your customers and how, most of them know that Poshmark does not allow returns. So they need those measurements from you, and you want to have those measurements available for them, because the less questions they have to ask you, the more likely they are to buy from you or to make an offer or to accept an offer. So you want to take the time and you want to make measurements for your customers. Yeah, we just started. We've been on here about a little under 15 minutes. So don't worry, we just started. Anyway, so, usually for tops and dresses, I will do armpit to armpit and length. If it's a dress with like a cinched waist, I'll also do the waist measurement. For jeans, I will usually do the waist across, and then I will do the rise, and then the inseam. Do you recommend putting a photo of the measurement and write it in the description as well? Yes. So I have seen a lot of people who are just including photos of the tape measure on the item. And a lot of times it is very difficult to see. It's very difficult to tell what you're measuring, and you have to keep in mind, you basically want to assume that your customer is lazy and doesn't want to figure these things out for themselves. And I hate to use that word, but it's true. They want everything in front of them. And I know there are customers who do not read descriptions. I absolutely know that they're out there. But when you are selling items and, somebody's paying you $50 for a pair of jeans, that $50 is enough to where they expect you to provide measurements for them. I have seen skinny jeans showing leg opening measurement. You can. I usually don't. If somebody, specifically asks for that, I will go back and get the item and measure it for them. But just as my basic rule, I just do waist, rise, and inseam. And that's usually enough for most people. If they request that you measure the leg opening, I would go and do that, but I wouldn't necessarily do that on everything because that's going to take you that much more time. So you want to provide these measurements for your customers because when you're starting to sell things that are of higher values, they expect these measurements and you're going to be more likely to actually make the sale if you have these measurements for them. If you can do leg width and it doesn't cost you a ton of time, you can include it. It's just not really something that I've ever done unless somebody requests for me to do that. Let me see. Somebody's trying to get into the webinar, so let me make sure that everyone's in here. Trying to make sure that everyone has access to this. Some people can't find the emails, so. Okay. But yeah, you absolutely want to provide measurements for your customers. And then for men's items, on some shirts, I will do like the sleeve length. You'll have people ask for sleeve length, especially if it's a special size, like if it's a men's tall size. I try to provide as many measurements as possible, just because people who are usually shopping for those specialty sizes, they need those measurements. They need to know how long the arms are. If you're doing things like ties, you need to give like the width of the tie and then the length of the tie as well. You can also do that for necklaces and things like that. For shoes, I usually try to give the heel measurement. And then, you want to, for items on brands like Chico's and Torrid that use the vanity sizing, I usually try to include a photo of the size chart in those listings. So that way I can list the item as the conversion size, not the vanity size. And then I will include a picture of the size chart to show that this is the conversion size according to the company. So definitely take your time and include the measurements because that is going to get you more sales and your customers are going to be way more likely to buy from you. All right, next topic we are going to talk about. Okay, I do want to talk about using keywords in your descriptions because I've had several people ask me about this, about using hashtags in your descriptions, and you will see people that just put a complete list of keywords in the bottom of their descriptions. So it's not really necessary that you do that. And it is possible that Poshmark could flag you if they suspect that you are keyword spamming in your listings, which you are not supposed to do. So for hashtags, Poshmark is not set up for a hashtag system. Like if you go on Instagram and you click on a hashtag, that will take you to a page of those hashtags. Poshmark doesn't have that search capability, so putting hashtags in your listings is pretty much pointless. And then if you are just doing regular keywords and copy and pasting just a list of keywords in the bottom of your listings, that can cause Poshmark's software to flag your listing and basically say that, you have all these words in your listing and it's spam. Let's see. There were several emails sent to me. Yeah, that's because I was trying to reset the download attempts and get it to be more than 3 download attempts. And I couldn't get it to reset. So I'm going to have to contact the company. So Sorry if you got multiple emails, but I was trying to make it to where you could download it an unlimited amount of times. Let's see. There's something similar to Facebook jail and Poshmark. Is there? Yes, there is a Poshmark jail. That is called throttling. So if you share too much within a certain amount of time, if you follow too many people, they can actually throttle your account and they can keep you from sharing and they can keep you from following people. So that is not something that you want to do. That's very bad and that can actually hurt the visibility of your closet. So you don't want to be doing things on Poshmark that's going to cause their software to flag your account. Like just doing things at a normal pace is fine. Following people at a normal pace is fine. Sharing at a normal pace is fine. But you don't want to do things excessively, like sitting there for hours following and sharing, because that will cause Poshmark's software to flag your account. So you don't want to do that. But that's their version of jail on Poshmark. So, let's see. But yeah, you do not want to include a whole bunch of keywords or like a list of keywords in the bottom of your listing that don't really have anything to do with your listing. You need to more so work your keywords into your description. You don't want to have just a list of words in your description because that's not really going to help you to make sales. Okay, so the next thing you want to do in your listing is you want to make sure to fill in all of the details on your listing, your brand, your size, anything that's there for you to fill out, you want to fill in. The one thing that I do not fill in on every single listing is color. I do not like to really address colors in my listings just because color is subjective to the person. And the more you talk about color in your listings, the more likely somebody will be to file an item not as described case against you, which is really annoying. But people will literally use any excuse they can if they get an item and they don't like it to file a case against you. So this is why I don't fill in the colors on the color chart in the listings, and I do not address them in the description of the listing. If somebody asks me about the color, I will say, oh, this is a blue tone, or this is a green tone, or oh, this might have, it might look purple to some people. You have to kind of, remind people that color is subjective, and what looks like something to you may not look the same to them. It may not look the same on their screen. It may not look the same in certain lighting because a lot of us take our pictures under photography lighting or natural lighting. And if they get it in their house and they have, fluorescent bulbs in their house, it's obviously not going to look the same as it would under photography lighting. So you want to be very careful how you address colors in your listing, and I try to just not mention them at all. I did have somebody ask me, is this skirt royal blue? And I did my best, and I told them, this could be, in my opinion, more of a purple than a royal blue. And you want to be honest with people. You don't want to mislead people, but you don't want to be like, yes, this is definitely a royal blue, or yes, this is definitely a purple. You want to avoid saying things like that to prevent people from filing cases against you. Next thing I want to talk about is writing in custom things in the listing fields. So you want to avoid writing in custom brands, and you want to avoid writing in custom sizes. I have no way to prove this, but these items, from my experience, do not show up in search. Very few times do these items show up in search. So really the only way for people to see items with custom sizes and custom brands is if they see it in their newsfeed or in a party, and that drastically cuts your likelihood of making that sale. So you really want to avoid at all costs putting in custom sizes and brands just because those items are not going to show up in the search. For example, like I talked about earlier with the Chicos and the Torrid sizing. Um, like Torrid and Chicos both have a size 0. So, you don't want to put that as a size 0 because it's not a traditional size 0. And then that's going to show up with the traditional size 0s. So that's why you want to get that conversion chart and you want to list as the conversion size. Or you will get like weird sizes. Like I think it's Talbot's that has a size and it doesn't say small, it says like petite or like 0P or something weird like that. So you want to avoid putting these custom sizes into your listings and you want to list as the conversion size. Let's see. That's great. My chat's not updating. Okay, here we go. I was doing measurements, but then I quit because it was so time consuming. I work a full-time job, so I was always looking for ways to make the listing faster, but it sounds like I need to start again. Yes, so you do need to start including listings in your measurements. I have tried it both ways, and then when I stopped doing measurements, I was getting several questions a day. Hey, can you measure this? Hey, and I was having to stop during my day to go and measure things for people, and it became way more time consuming than if I would have just put the measurements in the listing to begin with. Newbie here, having only 8 pictures, it's hard to include everything. Yes, so I do want to talk about that. If you need more than 8 pictures, you can download apps on your phone where you can make a photo collage of pictures. And I usually try to do this. When I do this, I will usually put like the size tag, the care tag, any up close photos that you have that aren't really, that they don't need to see the whole photo of, things like that to try and save room in the photos. Let's see, how do you know if this happens? Do they tell you? I think there might be a notification that pops up telling you that you can't share or to come back later or something. I forget how it's worded, but I think there is a notification that will pop up that will tell you that you can't share or follow for a certain amount of time. Try to at least put measurements on jeans, dresses, and vintage items. Yes, vintage items are very important to include measurements on because they are very, very different in size than the sizes that we have now. I'm assuming that I should follow everyone that follows me. Not necessarily. You do not want to spend a ton of time following excessive amounts of people. I also did this in the beginning, and I believe it hurt my account. It's just not a good thing to do. It's not a good use of your time. You do want to follow some people every day, but you don't want to follow excessive amounts of people. When listing a basic style t-shirt, do you list them as men or women's when it doesn't specify which it's for, when it could be for both? I usually list unisex t-shirts. It really depends on what's on it. I try to judge by what's on it. So like a band t-shirt, I usually list that as men's just because I feel like those are usually for men and I still have girls buy them. So I don't think it really makes too much of a difference on things like that. Just make sure that you provide the measurements armpit to armpit. And then you can also put just a little sentence, in your listing that it's unisex or great for men or women. As long as you're taking good pictures and using good keywords, it really shouldn't matter what you list it as. Let's see. On vintage items, would you remind people in your listing? Yes, so definitely use measurements on vintage items. What about fabric? You do want to include fabric in your listing. You can usually just take a picture of the care tag and include that. The only time I will mention the fabric is usually like on Tommy Bahama shirts that are 100% silk, because people are specifically looking for those silk shirts. Lily Pulitzer is another brand, Johnny Was. Those brands have very distinctive silk shirts that people search for. So if you have an item that's 100% silk or 100% wool or Pima cotton, something like that, like something specialty, then I will put that in the listing because people are searching for that. Let's see. Someone asked me if it was true color, the lighting made it brighter color. Retook the picture and showed the actual color and reposted. Yeah, and that's great to show people the color under different lighting, because obviously something's going to look different in their house than it does if you're taking your pictures under photography lighting or natural lighting. What if your brand is not listed in their drop-down menu? Then you basically have to write in the brand. It's just not something that you want to do every day. So if it's not there, you definitely need to write it in. But, I try to avoid buying brands that aren't really in the drop down, but sometimes you can't avoid it. So I have a women's bra size 50, but Poshmark size doesn't go that high. What do you suggest? Let me actually pull this up for the bra sizes, because I can't remember how this is set up specifically. Edit, category. So, yeah, the sizing stops at 48. I would put it as one size. There is the option for one size, and then put the actual size in the listing description. Just make sure you include it in the description. I wouldn't do the custom size, just because I feel like one size is an actual option from their list, so that's going to be more likely to show up in search. How would you list slippers that say medium 7 or 8? I would either list them as a medium, or I would list them as a size 7. I always do the lowest size, and then you need to put a picture of the tag and then exactly what the tag says in the description. How do you tell men's and women's jeans apart? Usually men's jeans will have an inseam size with them. Or usually men's jeans start at like 30, 32, 34, whereas a women's usually, it's European sizing, you will get like size 30, 31. But usually men's jeans have an inseam size with them. So, and then you can usually tell by the cut. Women's jeans are usually more slightly narrow through the hips, whereas men's jeans are sometimes more straight. Some people will troll listings, and if they see one without any, they will ask to make you get up and do it, and then you never hear from them again. Yeah, so you will get those people who just ask questions just to ask questions. Stock photos are against policy. So, people do use stock photos, but it's kind of an at your own risk kind of thing. You will have companies who will take down your listings. Lululemon has removed listings on Poshmark. Chico's has removed listings. So they do have people who go through Poshmark and look to see if you are using their stock photos. So, people do use stock photos, but it's very much at your own risk, and Poshmark will take down your listings if they catch you. So just be aware of that. I don't understand how anyone breaking the rules is still on there. I have people follow me, have non-compliant closets, and I hate to say it, No, I wouldn't share their listings either if they're non-compliant. It's completely impossible for Poshmark to go through and remove everybody who is breaking the rules. That's why they have the option for people to flag them, and then that's why they implemented this thing of the users going through listings and verifying them. So, the only thing that you can do is flag people. But I definitely wouldn't share non-compliant items. You have to write it in. I recommend checking how other people type it. If people search for the exact brand, click on the brand name on a different listing. Yeah, so if you are writing in a brand, I recommend capitalizing it and writing it how Poshmark would have it in the listing. Are stock photos okay if you purchase boutique and have permission? Yes. So if you purchase wholesale products, usually they will have some sort of disclaimer that tells you that you can use their photos with purchase of their products. So as long as they have that and they tell you that you can use their photos, that's perfectly fine. You just want to be very careful when you are, selling other brands and going on their website and taking their photos, because they can absolutely remove your listings for that, because it's technically stealing their photos. So I'm making sure my chat is caught up. Okay, good. But yeah, you want to be very careful with stock photos. I personally have not had listings removed, but I know people who have. I feel like reselling in recent years is becoming much more popular, and brands are way more aware of it. This happens a lot on eBay. It doesn't happen as much on Poshmark. eBay is a lot more strict than Poshmark on these types of things. But as Poshmark continues to grow as a company, I definitely see them implementing more policies on this, because they're going to have to, because they have completely grown significantly since I started, and they're just going to have more policies about it. Okay, so if you guys don't have any more questions about that, I'm going to move on to talking about photos specifically. Okay, so your photos are probably the most important part of your listing. Yes, you need your titles and your descriptions to show up in search, but your photos are what is going to draw people in. So you don't want to spend excessive amounts of time on your photos to the point where it's slowing you down, but you do want to put care into your photos, especially your cover shots, because that is what is going to add value to your item, and that is what is going to sell your item. If two people have the same pair of jeans and one just throws them wrinkled up in the floor and takes a picture of them, and the other person actually takes a good picture and shows details and has a bright, clear picture, that pair of jeans is going to be more likely to sell, and that pair of jeans is going to be more likely to sell at a higher amount, because the customer is able to see the item. The item is more appealing to them because it's brighter and clear. And then, obviously you're showing more details about the item. So that in turn is going to get the customer to trust you more. The more details you show, the better. Let's see, how many times a day should you list to get sales and keep them? I would like to list off and on during the day, not all at once. Okay, so this is a really great question, actually. So just from personal experience, what I have noticed and what I like to do is I like to list 5 things first thing in the morning. If you get up early in the morning and you have 5 things left over from the day before, I like to list those and do that. So that really will jumpstart your closet. If you list 5 items and then go through and share all of your items in the morning, that really gets your closet going for the day. And then during the last party at night, I like to list 5 items during the last party at night. That's when the most people are active on the app. And that is when your listings are going to be even more likely to be seen. So you can save some items from the day before to list first thing in the morning. And then that way you can take more photos during the day and list at least 5 things at night. That is just from my personal experience, what I have had the best results from doing. I'm redoing cover photos so they all match, so to speak, just the cover ones. Is it okay to leave the rest as the cover ones are the main ones? Yes, as long as they portray the item, like if you have a pair of jeans, you can absolutely redo the cover photo, and then as long as the rest of your photos portray the jeans accurately, that's fine. But you can absolutely, because a lot of times what I will do is I'll take my photos and I'll edit the cover photo to be to be brighter. So that way, if I don't have time to edit all the photos, at least the cover photo looks really good, and that will draw people in. Because when people see the cover photo and they come in and they look at your other photos, they don't really care as much. But the cover photo is what grabs their attention. So that's really what you need to focus on mainly. And then just make sure the rest of your photos are clear and that they portray the item correctly. I do white backgrounds hang with flat lay with a more colorful background be better. So we are going to talk about this. So there's no one thing that is good for everything. So when you are photographing your items, you really need to be aware of how your item will look best in a photo. So for dresses usually look better on mannequins, because for dresses, you usually have to show the fit of the dress. They usually have a fitted waist or a belt. They just in general usually look better on mannequins, unless it's just a straight dress that you don't need to show the fit on. T-shirts usually look better on a hanger or on a flat lay, because the main part of the t-shirt that you need to be showing is what's printed on it. Jeans for cover photos, I will do a flat lay for the cover photo, and then I'll hang them on the wall to show the length of the jeans. So you really want to be aware of how your items look in photos. And, it's not going to be, all things look better on hangers, all things look better on mannequins. You have to merchandise your items, and you have to be able to choose which method is going to make the item look better and which method is going to make the item more appealing to the customer. Personally, I prefer a white or a gray neutral background for things, just because I feel like that helps the item appear more clearly in the photo. So, I usually use a white wall for a white background. Then for lighter colored items, you need to have some contrast in your photos for white items and, light gray and things like that. So that's when you can use a gray background, you can use hardwood floor, you can use a darker colored wall. You have to switch things out depending on what you're photographing, if that makes sense. Let's see. Is it better to list items fresh during the party, or is it okay to make a draft and then list? I don't think it makes a difference if you're saving drafts, but you want your items to be new during the party. I'm redoing the cover ones, but leaving ones I already had. They do show the item and all, but I wanted the cover ones to all match. Yeah, and that's great, because that's going to give a more cohesive look to your closet. I've been looking at sweaters, and so many people put on mannequins, and then it looks misshapen. Yes. So, some sweaters, if they're fitted, they will look better on mannequins, but if they're more bulky and chunky, a lot of them will look better on hangers. Personally, I can go faster if my items are on hangers. So for the most part, that's what I do with t-shirts and just regular tops. If I do have something I need to show the fit on, I'll use a mannequin. Men's shirts usually are fine on hangers. Men's t-shirts are fine on hangers. Um, some dresses are fine on hangers, like shift dresses, just straight dresses that you don't need to show the waist or anything like that on. But if it's belted or if it's cinched or something like that, I do put it on a mannequin. Um, Maxi dresses, a lot of times I'll put on a mannequin just because I feel like they just look better on mannequins. But you have to be able to differentiate what is going to make your item look best. And that is how you add value to your items, because you're taking the time to actually merchandise the item for your photos and show the customer the item in and how it looks in its best light. So the next thing I want to talk about is your lighting. You need good lighting, whether that is natural lighting or photography lighting. A lot of people use natural lighting. The problem that you're going to come into with that is if it rains that day, you can't take photos. If it's nighttime, you won't be able to take photos. So that's going to limit your time that you have to work. So you really want to invest in some photography lights. I recommend the box lights or a ring light. I've never used the umbrella lights, but everyone that I've talked to that has used them is very unhappy with them. I've never heard anybody say anything positive about the umbrella lights. I'm not sure why, but people are just not happy with them. So I highly recommend investing in some box lights or a ring light. That's going to make your photos so much more cohesive, and they're going to look so much more professional, and it's going to show the item. It's going to make your photos more clear, especially if you are taking pictures. Most people take pictures with their phones. You need good lighting for your phone. So, that's going to be, if you can't invest in anything else, you need to invest in your lighting, because you need the lighting for your photos. It will literally change your business. And I waited a long time before I actually got lighting, but then once I did, I wish I had gotten it so much sooner. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions about lights or listing or photos? Like, what do you guys struggle with most about your photos? But the main thing is you want to do what's going to make the item look best, but also what you can do the fastest. So a lot of people do styled flat lays, and I did this in the beginning, but you don't want to be having to change out your setting for every single photo. So the trick to that is to make your setting and leave it to where you can just interchange the items. So you don't want to be spending a lot of time on that if you choose to do that. I'm not saying do it or don't do it, but if that's something you want to do, you've got to make it time efficient. Let's see. I have such an issue with my box lights. Can you tell me how to place them to get the best pics? Close, so many feet away, aimed at each other, crossing over in front of them. Okay, so you want to have them a good little ways back from your items. And like if your item is here in the middle, you want to have a light here and a light here. You don't want to have them super close to your item, because that's going to make it too bright. You don't want to have them too far away, because then it's not going to be effective. But you do want them kind of to the sides. It also helps if you have a third light. If you could get the ring light or a third light to go over top of them, that will help eliminate shadows. And then you also want to be aware of there doesn't need to be any more lights in the room. So if you're mixing natural light with the photo lights, you're gonna get weird like tones and shadows. You also want to be aware of the wall color of the room that you're taking pictures in, because whatever the wall color is or your background color, the lights are going to reflect that. So if you have a yellow background or a yellow wall in your room and you have these lights on it, it's going to reflect that color and that's going to show up in your photos. So you want your background to be a solid neutral color. And then you want to turn off any lights that you have on in that room. And then you want to close the blinds, put up curtains, block out the natural light, and just have the photo boxes. Can't get rid of shadows even with good lights. It must be user error. See, it's difficult to take photos if items don't fit the hanger or mannequin right. Yes, I completely agree. So, that's when you have to really figure out how the item looks best. And if you can't do the hanger or the mannequin, you want to do a flat lay. And, bigger sizes usually, sometimes they'll be fine on hangers and mannequins, but a lot of times for bigger sizes, I will have to do a flat lay. Let's see. It's difficult to take photo. I already did that one. As far as shoes go, what do you recommend as far as pictures? So for shoes, I usually do just my white faux fur, and then I'll put the shoes down. You want to make sure you take pictures of all angles of the shoes. You want the top, the front, the back, the sides, both soles. You absolutely need to take a picture of the size that is printed on the shoe. You need that in your listing. I had an incident one time. Somebody bought a pair of black boots from me, and they get the boots, and they open a case against me saying that I sent them the wrong size, and they uploaded pictures of a completely different pair of boots that were actually listed in their closet. So they were trying to scam me and say that I sent them the wrong size, but because I had a picture of the size in my listing, I won the case. So you absolutely need to have a picture of the size in your listing. Any flaws that are on the shoes, you need to take close-up photos of those. Just make sure you get all angles of the shoe and both soles. Let's see. Sometimes I have issues with my pics having a glare or being blurry. If you're using your phone camera, that usually means you need to wipe off your camera. So get something that won't scratch it and wipe off your camera, like clean off your camera lens. I get a weird bluish tint in the background. Lori, what are you using to take your photos with? Because that will happen on my iPhone sometimes if I'm taking pictures of blue items. I have gray barnwood, but my pics always make my item look dirty. So that might be when you need to get an app on your phone that you can use to brighten your photos with. I have blue walls in my room. It's such a pain. I use a white curtain background, but I'm always fighting this white balance issue. Yeah, if you have blue walls, that's gonna really affect your lighting. If you could maybe go and get some white, like the eclipse curtains that block out all, because they're really thick, so they don't let light through. And maybe try to hang them near where you're taking photos to block out those blue walls, or get like white foam board and put it on the walls near where you're taking the photos. Where did you buy your lighting for pictures? Yes, so I got my lighting kit from Amazon. Let me see. I can get you the link for it. Because I have the box lights. I got the box lights first, and then I got a ring light. The ring light is great if you are short on space. Now I have all of them, which I love having all of them because it really helps. And it helps if I don't want to have to move all these lights around. Let's see. Trying to find which one I use. Because you don't want the umbrella lights. I've heard terrible, terrible stories about the umbrella lights. Not good. Where is this? Here we go. Okay, so here's the link to the box lights. Let me find the ring light. And you don't need all of these. You can get either or. It's just going to depend on what you need and how dark your house is. Sorry, guys. Let's see. That's my problem. It's been raining so much lately. Can you get a cheap light kit? My husband is a professional photographer and has talked about helping me with a setup in our basement. Definitely check out the one I just linked. It's pretty reasonably priced and it includes 2 lights and it's completely worth it. Let's see. Use your phone. It's an Android. So you want to make sure that you have a solid white background. You can get white poster board. You can get white bulletin board paper. They sell that at office supply stores in big rolls of it, so you'll be able to use it for a long time. If that doesn't work, definitely try out some different backgrounds. Like you can get the gray background. Let's see. I just got peel and stick wood for mine from Walmart. So far, so good. Yeah, and that's great. So whatever you can find near you is gonna as long as you're happy with it. I prefer more neutral color backgrounds. So you usually have to purchase a stand and filter for the ring light. The one I just linked comes with a stand. So yeah, don't do umbrella lights. I've never heard anybody say anything positive about the umbrella lights. I use the lights that come with the lighting kit. That's what I'm using right now. So the lighting kit comes with light bulbs that are good. How long did it take you before you could have Posh as a full support job? So I started Poshmark in 2014. I was still in college. In college, I was also working 2 jobs and going to school. And then after I finished college, I got a job because I went to school for biology. So after I finished college, I got a job at this vet's office, and I was pretty miserable. I was not meant to work in a vet's office. And then I got a job working part-time at it was a boutique, but it was their corporate office. So I was doing monogramming and engraving there, and they would schedule me to where I would be just a couple hours under full time. So I was, working 30 hours a week instead of 35 hours a week, and they wouldn't give me full time or benefits. And then they sent out a letter one day saying that part time people didn't get a full lunch break. We would only get a 15-minute break. And I was already like unhappy there to begin with because I felt like I never was able to see my mom or, have a life. So um, that was kind of a hard time because I just kind of quit because I was so unhappy there. And that's when I started really listing on Poshmark to pay my bills. And then eventually, a couple months later, I did get a part-time job to fund my business with, is basically what I used it for. I used the capital from my part-time job to buy inventory and to, I saved for a long time. And it probably took me a year or two of saving and, being really diligent about what I was doing. And I talked to a lot of people. I have a whole video about it on my YouTube channel. It's called Why I Quit My Job. I think that's what it's called. And, I saved for a long time. I drove a car that I paid cash for, so I didn't have a car payment. I had very minimal bills, so it was just me. You have to take really all of this into consideration when you're trying to decide if you want to quit and do this full time. So, my story isn't necessarily going to be somebody else's story because my story is very different than somebody who has a family or who has kids. So you really have to take all of that into consideration. But I highly suggest saving 6 months to a year of income before you go full time. Just to you want to have a cushion before you just jump into doing something like this full time. And also, it has been, I've been slowly building other streams of income, which is also something that you really need to look into. And that's probably a whole other video in itself. But you don't necessarily want to put all of your eggs in one basket. You need to figure out what you do well, and then you need to use that to, move more towards that full time. Edit brightness on at least the cover photo. Yes. So you don't have time to edit all of your pictures. That's absolutely what I usually do is I'll just edit the cover photo to look really good. And then, if you have time later, you can go back and edit the pictures. But yeah, definitely, you absolutely can go full time. It's just going to depend on your situation, and, if you have a spouse, you want that person to support you, and that's something that you'll have to really sit down and talk about and figure out your situation and if you would be okay going full time and building your business. I don't work as it is, only hubby does. All my kids are grown and gone, but wanted to do this full time for me. So hubby can go part time. Yes, that's awesome. And you can definitely, it's easier if you have two people. If you have two people who are interested in the same thing versus, you have someone who's not supportive, it's going to be more difficult. I will use this to supplement my Social Security so I can finally get a place of my own again. Yes, completely doable. Completely doable. You just have to be really consistent with it. More effort, been doing a lot, worn out. Poshing is hard at times. Poshing is definitely hard at times, and that's just retail. That is the world of retail, and that's not just online businesses. You see all of these stores that are shutting down left and right because retail is just not what it used to be. More people are shopping online. More people are interested in a one-stop shop like Target. You know, you can go to Target, you can get groceries, you can get clothes, you can get toys, you can get dog food. It's becoming more and more difficult for these specialty stores to stay in business, which is why it is so important that Poshmark is introducing all of these markets so that you can take advantage of all of these markets and utilize those, because when people are shopping on Poshmark, if you have a mom who's shopping on Poshmark, she's shopping for her kids, she's shopping for herself, she's shopping for her husband, she's shopping for her house, and that's why you need to have all of these things in your closet. You need to be taking advantage of the markets, the home market, the luxury market, if you can find items that will go in that. Um, but you know, this is becoming the reality of retail, and you have to adapt and change, or you're going to be like Forever 21 and filing bankruptcy. I work full-time nights every weekend, every holiday, and rarely see my family. Yeah, and that's how I felt right after college when I was working so much and I wasn't seeing my family and I wasn't seeing my mom, and all I would do was I would go to work and I would come home and I would be so exhausted that I would go to bed, and then I just got up the next day and I would do it all over again, and I just reached a point where I knew that I was meant to do other things. And once I got to the point where my part-time job was getting in the way of my reselling, that's when I knew it was kind of time to take that leap. I just want to make money so we can be free, so to speak. Yes, and that is one of my main purposes of doing this webinar, is so you're not one of these people who are spending hours and hours a day listing $10 items trying to make a living off of $10 items. Because yes, a lot of people can sell $10 items and people do it. But if you can go out and you can get 5 items that are worth $50 a piece, that's the equivalent of 25 items worth $10 a piece. And so, you know, think about the time it would take to list 25 items versus the time it takes to list 5 items. So you want to make money doing this, but you do not want to be spending 24/7 listing stuff, which is, you know, kind of what got me on this trek of you have to factor in your time into your business. You want to source better items and list better items that are going to make you more money and save you time. And that is really, you know, that's the point at which my business completely changed, was when I learned that I could source way better items and that I didn't have to spend all day every day trying to list 20 $10 items. Because that's a very great point. You want to have time to go and live your life. You want to have freedom. You want to have time to take trips. You want to have time to go on vacation. Like, I just went to Pittsburgh for a few days to see some of my other reseller friends and to work there and source. And, you know, I was able to do that. You don't want to not be able to leave your business for a few days. You want it to be kind of self-sustaining. The closets that have all $5 and $9 items really bug me. I feel like they are lowering comps for us, and customers lowball us because of them. Is that true? In a sense, yes, because people see these items and they think that everybody wants to sell stuff at garage sale prices, which is why I have been posting more about this, because if we as a group don't stop doing this, and, you know, if we don't encourage other people to stop doing this, this is going to continue to happen. And This is a big part of eBay's problem, is that eBay is almost forcing people into this race to the bottom because they want you to do free shipping, they want you to do promoted listings, they want you to do all this stuff, and people on eBay are used to these 99-cent auctions. They're used to getting things at bargains, whereas Poshmark has really set the bar from the beginning that people, first of all, from the beginning, Manish established that people would pay for shipping, which is one of the things that has completely set Poshmark apart from everything else. So from the get-go, he established that people would pay for shipping. Never has Poshmark expected people to offer free shipping for their customers. It's now an option. You can, give people a free shipping discount, but you don't have to. And because they have established on Poshmark from the beginning that you will pay for shipping, people expect to pay for that shipping price. You don't have to offer them free shipping. And so it's really upsetting when people are listing things for $5 and $6. They're not really making anything on them. And that's kind of ruining the image that Poshmark has portrayed. Larger items are good, but what if I have a room full of very nice smaller items? Do you mean smaller in size or like lower priced items? Poshmark is always trying to get us to do closet clean out, which lowers our profit. Okay, I want to talk about that for a second. We're going to talk about this next week too. You do not have to do closet clear out every single time that Poshmark has closet clear out. So back when I started in 2014, closet clear out was the only way we had of offering discounted shipping. It was the only way we had to offer any sort of discount or incentive for the customers to buy stuff. Now, since they introduced this offer to likers feature, I don't really understand why they still do closet clear out. I know it prompts sellers to lower prices and people buy stuff. Personally, I prefer doing offers to likers because then I don't have to go back through all my stuff and relist stuff and raise the prices on it. I personally don't prefer closet clear out. Maybe do closet clear out once a month or once every 2 months, but I don't recommend doing it as often as Poshmark has this promotion going on. It's just not a good idea. So you definitely want to utilize offer to likers more than you do closet clear out. Yeah, and you absolutely can ignore the clear outs. You don't have to participate in these promotions that Poshmark is doing. Because Poshmark is doing because remember, as you make money, Poshmark makes money. So Poshmark is doing all these promotions to encourage people to lower prices and people to buy stuff. But you don't want to lower your prices so much to where you're losing money. And if you're lowering and then even with closet clear out, you have to keep your price $10 or above. So it's not effective for these people trying to sell things for $6 and $7 anyway. So I prefer to keep my prices where they are and send out offer to likers. So then it doesn't really get very complicated. Lori says, I don't do them. I did, but never got any sales from them. Yeah. So like I said, when I first started, that was the only way to discount stuff, to discount the shipping, to give people an incentive to buy things. And back then, they didn't have it as often as they do now. They would have it maybe once per quarter on a holiday weekend, like Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend, times like that, when sales were slower and they were trying to, you know, get people to buy stuff on weekends where they weren't really making as much money because people weren't shopping on the holiday weekends. But now it's kind of obsolete because we have the offer to likers that we can do anytime. And I see way more sales from offer to likers than I ever have from closet clear out. So you definitely do not have to participate in every single closet clear out that happens. And I don't recommend participating in all of them either. You know, if you have stuff that's older and not seeing much activity, then you can go through and drop prices on it and see if you can get some activity that way. But don't do it every time they do closet clear out. I'm still new and only have had 21 sales, but none were from closet clear out. Yeah, so it's not really effective anymore. I don't really understand why they have it so often. It's really frustrating when, you know, it's just encouraging people to drop these prices lower and lower and lower. Is everything okay on your end? I'm sad you're not coming to Posh Fest. Looks like they kind of jacked with the schedule last minute too. Okay, so I did make the decision to not go to Posh Fest, just because I have this house and I'm super behind on everything, and I feel like I would be more stressed out being there and not being able to work. My mom's also been having some health issues, and my dog's been having some health issues, and I don't like knowing that how stressed out I would be if I wasn't here working. So I just made the decision not to go, and I did lose money, but I need to get caught up on my work and get things straight here, and I'll have way more peace of mind if I'm here working. So I just made the decision not to go. And that's just for my decision. It's, you know, I just had to make a decision for me. So I hate that I can't go. I really wanted to go. I wanted to see Phoenix, but it will be okay. There's always next year. If you have a few items to post, it's best to wait until the weekend to add them, right? You need to be listing every day. So, you know, you don't want to be holding off, not listing things. You need to be listing items every day. If you have them, list them. The YouTube session seems to have been dropped from the schedule. That bummed me out. I didn't see, that's interesting. Let me look. It's kind of a little tangent about Posh Fest, but I didn't notice that they changed the schedule. And if you can't go to Posh Fest, they will be streaming it on YouTube. So make sure you're paying attention to their YouTube channel. I'm not sure why they would change the schedule so last minute. I do know they did develop an app that will help you kind of make your own schedule and pick which panels you want to go to. So definitely download the app so that you can see all the panels. I don't know when the YouTube session was supposed to be. Let's see. And it may have just been that they didn't get. No, the YouTube session is still there. It says it's a breakout session. So it's going to be in a different room than the main session. But it is still on the schedule. It says breakout session, content strategies, how to break into the booming world of YouTube. So it is still on the schedule. At least on the website. Where it says it's on day 1. Do you have any good advice for full-time workers? I'm 58 and dead tired when I get home. I get 2 things listed and I'm just done. Do those 2 items help? They definitely help, but what you need to do is, if you have time on the weekends to photograph and measure enough items to list during the week. So, photograph and measure 25 items so that you'll have 5 items a day to list during the week. That will help you tremendously if you're able to take photos in batches. And I know you work during the week and it's hard to, use your weekends to do more work. But if you could take a couple hours and photograph those 25 items, that will help you during the week to be able to list regularly. And 15 of those you can save in drafts. So, you can have 15 drafts ready to go for the week. How long should I sit on an item before lowering the price? You go by having a lot of likes but no offer. So I don't really have a set amount of time where I leave stuff in my closet or I delete it. I do send out offers with every liker. So every time somebody likes it, I send an offer. And you want to be able to share your items regularly so that you can be regularly getting likers. But you just have to keep sending offers. And then if you send an offer to a significant amount of likers and nobody takes it, that's when you want to consider, offering more of a discount. Let's see. Is there a certain number of items needed in a closet before you start to see consistent daily sales? Or does it just depend on your items? Should you have 100, 200, 500? You can absolutely see daily sales with less than 100 items, but that will greatly depend on what kind of items you have. So, people who, if you have name brands, if you have jeans, if you have shoes, dresses, things that I talked about last week, those are going to be more likely to get you daily sales versus if you just have, no name brands, no nothing, items that aren't really in demand. So I do usually tell people to make it a goal to get to 100 listings because you will significantly see your activity pick up once you get to those 100 listings. So obviously the more inventory you have, the more likely you're going to be to make a sale. But the type of inventory that you have is going to be what is going to make you those daily sales. You have to have items that people want to buy. So don't get discouraged. If you don't have 1,000 items in your closet, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't make daily sales. You make daily sales from listing consistently and listing the right items. Let's see. For the description, is it better to have sentences or a list? You can do either. I've done both and I haven't really seen a difference. Whatever you can do the fastest is what I would do. You send offers right away. Yes. Usually whenever I see the like, within a few minutes, I'll send an offer. You send offers as soon as they like them with every single person. I used to work at Books A Million, and we had to sell these discount cards, loyalty cards, for $20 a piece. The key to getting people to buy them was to ask every single person. Because we had to make a percentage based on how much money was in our registers, how many sales we had done. You had to ask every single person. So that's kind of the mindset that I have with offer to likers. You ask every single person. Somebody's going to either buy it or counter you. In my descriptions, I try to describe them in detail. Full zip, zipper pulls. Sounds like I don't need to describe it. You don't necessarily have to go into that much detail. Those are the types of things that I like to take photos of, especially with zippers. I like to take a picture that shows the zipper up and one that shows the zipper down just to prove that it works. So if you have pockets in one picture, show them closed and then unzip them for the next picture. When you make offer to likers, do you start at 10% or should you discount deeper? I don't really go by percentages. I usually try to give people a discount of at least $10. And we're going to talk about that a lot more next week when it's going to be part 3, and it's going to be all about pricing and margins and marking stuff up, how to do that. But I usually try to give people a discount of at least $10. I have 347 and no daily sales. It's been over a week since I've sold. I get lots of likes and shares, but no buys. Are you listing every day? Let me know if you like how many items you list per day. What is happening when person likes your item and you go to sell view? It says the person has no likes from your closet. That means they probably liked it by accident and then they unliked it. I'll have people do that. It usually happens when they're sharing and they mean to share the item and they accidentally add it to a bundle. And then you'll go to the bundle and nothing will be there. So, and I've done it myself too, like adding stuff to a bundle that I didn't mean to. So, don't worry too much about that, about those types of things. And sometimes, you'll get somebody like something and you'll go to send an offer and it won't send. It's because the person accidentally liked the item and then they unliked it. I notice when I list early, I have a lot of likes and followers right off the bat. Yeah, it's really good to list in the morning. I try to list every day, but no, sadly, I'm not consistent in that area. So that's going to be one of the keys to making daily sales is that you have to list daily. And you'll see if you have days when you can't list consistently, your sales will go down. But listing is the number one thing to boost your algorithm. So you have to make that your first priority. And you need to have things ready to go so you can list every day. Yes, listing every day is the most important thing. That's number 1 on your list. If you can't do anything else, you need to list 5 items. Because that's going to be the number 1 thing that will help you. You guys have really great questions tonight. Go back to my outline. It's like I've covered. Okay, so for the apps that I want to go over this really quick. The apps that you can use to brighten your photos, I like to use an app called Facetune. It's for iPhone. I did have to pay for it, but it is amazing at editing photos in just a few clicks. So you can brighten stuff. You can add cool tones, which is going to give you that white background. It's just a really good app, and it's definitely worth. Hey, I think it was like $3. So does relisting count as listing? I personally do not count relisting as listing. You don't want to be deleting items. If you mark them not for sale and relist them, that's fine. But what is going to increase the chances of you making a sale is you adding new inventory. So you have to think about places like Goodwill and Plato's Closet. They are constantly adding new inventory to their stores every single day. And this is how they stay in business. If Goodwill one day said, okay, we're not taking any more donations until what we have in the store sells, they would go out of business. So you have to constantly be putting new items into your closet. It's very, very important because the reality is that not everything that you buy to sell is actually going to sell. And that's just how retail is. You want most of your things to sell, but you will have things that simply will not sell. And you just have to move on and get new inventory. So priority is listing new items every single day. That is what is going to increase your chances of making sales. If you're relisting older items that no one's purchased, your chances of making a sale aren't going to be as good as you listing new items. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Question about measurements. Do you measure swimsuits or bras or just photo the size tag? It really depends. Mostly on bras, I just put the size tag. I don't really measure those. If it's a bathing suit, like a one piece bathing suit or like a tankini, I will measure like armpit to armpit and put that measurement so that people will know about the band. If it's a one piece, sometimes I'll measure the length of it. It really, just kind of depends on the style. But for the most part, for those, you can just put the size on the tag. Does it matter what markets you list in daily? Yes and no. So you want to try to list a variety of stuff. Like if I have a ton of jeans, I'll usually try to, do some men's jeans, women's jeans, and then I'll mix in some tops, a dress. You kind of want to add variety in what you're listing because that's going to increase the chances of you making a sale. I'm going to buy the box lighting kit through your link. I have umbrellas and they are very flimsy. I can use umbrellas to control lighting. I have had this box light kit for a few years now and it has lasted a while. The bulbs haven't burned out. I'm completely happy with it. Like I said, it does include the 2 lights. It does include carrying cases if you need to break them down. But I've not had any issues with them. So I'm pretty happy. You have a lot of mystery boxes in one of your closets. Is that a good way to let your smaller items go? If you have excess inventory, it's a great way to move your inventory. And it's a better way to move inventory than listing things for $5 and $6. Just because if you list a mystery box, nobody knows what's in the mystery box. So that's not going to drive down the market for whatever brands you decide to put in your mystery box. I have a lot of inventory, and a lot of times I will do the mystery boxes just to kind of clear out space. Most of what I put in my mystery boxes was never even listed. So, that's just my way of kind of getting rid of excess stuff that I have. But you don't have to sell mystery boxes as like a reseller mystery box per se. You can sell your mystery boxes as just, lot them by size or by item and sell them that way. I went through my death pile and got rid of things I didn't like and didn't feel like listing. Everything else is hanging. Nothing is on the floor. I feel more like listing now. Absolutely. I have many bags of stuff that I need to go through and organize. And I went to Walmart today actually to try and get some new bins, and they did not have a good bin selection. So, but I am working on my inventory system. Having an inventory system and being organized is going to help you so much. I'm completely revamping my inventory system. I'm trying to find a garment rack so that I can hang things like jeans and dress shirts and things that I don't necessarily want to put in a bin. I was hoping to find like a business or somewhere that was going out like closing, but it looks like I'm gonna have to order one off Amazon. But I'm definitely in that mode as well, trying to get things organized and create a more efficient workspace. I did go to Ross and bought a few work tables, which have helped tremendously. They were super cheap. They were like $20 and under. So definitely check out places like Ross. They usually have some good office supplies. Once I get my inventory system mostly done, I will absolutely do a video. It's probably going to take me a week or two to get it where I want it to be, but I need some sort of system. I'm just at the point where I'm kind of losing my mind trying to find stuff and be organized, and I want shelves and I want it to all be organized. So I'm kind of in that mode of revamping everything. And I've seen how a couple other people have their systems. So I'm kind of like taking things from different people's systems and putting them how I like them. So I will definitely do a video about it once I get it where I want it to be. But my advice to you now, if you were just starting, before you have as many things as I do, get a storage unit. The storage unit has been helping me tremendously with overflow stuff and to not be so overwhelmed. I was to a point where I would carry stuff around in my car for a while because I didn't want to like bring it in my house. The storage unit has helped tremendously. It was a great investment. Get bins and just, list stuff immediately. Like, don't let stuff pile up. Let's see. What other questions do you guys have for me tonight? I'm sure the chat is updating. If I have no room to hang things, nothing comes in. Yeah, I just have I like to go to Goodwill as much as I can and stock up on stuff because I know there will be times of the year where I won't find as much stuff. So you kind of have to factor that in a little bit and take into consideration when you're not able to find stuff. So you kind of have to make up for that time. Like sometimes I go to Goodwill and I find a ton of stuff. Today I went and there was pretty much nothing. Right before school started was a pretty slow time as well. People just weren't donating as much to Goodwill. After the new year, you'll start seeing stuff, but there's just certain times of year where people just aren't donating as much just because of their schedules and they're not cleaning out stuff or having yard sales or anything like that. Yes, if you would hit the like button, that does help me. Even though this is a private video, it will help YouTube recognize that my content is good. So that is very, very helpful. Thank you. Let's see. The best system I found was to do 1 to 20 in each bin, 21 for 40, number of plastic bags, those numbers, and reuse them. Tried everything else. It sells, pull out, then put it in the basket to reuse. How do you ship with the storage unit? Do you go every day or several times a week? So I don't put things that I have listed in my storage unit. I keep those things with me. I put overflow items or items that I don't need right away that I know I'm not going to be listing right away. I'll put those in the storage unit. I have extra supplies like my USPS supplies in the storage unit that I can go there and get. Just things that I don't want taking over my house. Just a way to kind of offload clutter into the storage unit or put things in the storage unit until I'm ready to list them. That way I'm not piling up my house with things that I'm not actively working on. But I don't keep listed items in the storage unit. I keep clutter and overflow in the storage unit and then keep listed things with me. Let's see, if I can afford only one of the lighting you mentioned above, which one would you suggest? I would get the ring light. Definitely the ring light if you're in a small space. It'll be plenty of lighting for you. Is it a climate controlled storage unit? Yes. And honestly, I don't know if it makes a difference if you have climate controlled or not, as long as you have your stuff in protected bins or bags. You don't, obviously, if you don't have a climate controlled storage unit, you don't want to just put stuff loose in there. But if you have stuff sealed in bags, I think it should be fine. thank you guys so much for being here tonight. You have great questions. I think this went really well. We're almost at 2 hours again. So if you guys don't have any more questions, I'm probably going to end this here. I will be back doing the webinar tomorrow night. If you guys would like to come back and join tomorrow night, if you have more questions. Yes, definitely start making changes. And don't overwhelm yourselves, but slowly start implementing changes into your closet and your sourcing and your listings. And I promise you, you will see the difference. Like I said, I've been doing this is 5 years of trial and error that I've been doing. So this is me kind of sharing my methods and strategies with you, just what has worked for me and what has been best for my business. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. And if you come back to join tomorrow night, I will see you tomorrow night. Otherwise, I will see you next week for the final part 3, where we are going to go into pricing and margins and sales strategies. We're going to talk about, closet clear out, offer to likers, more in depth, more strategies for those. So I hope to see you here again next week. And make sure you check the announcements in the Facebook groups. I will be posting things in there. So just try to check those every single day. But I will see you guys. I hope you have a great night. Go list some things, make some money, and I will see you later.